Verse 23. Let that be known by the name of yoga, this disconnection from union with pain. This yoga should be practiced with determination, with heart undismayed. In the Shankar Bhashya, Adi Shankaracharya says that pain described in this verse means the material world, and that pain is in the form of the material world. Therefore, one should try to know this yoga of becoming one with the Supreme Soul, which makes us free from the material world. What is this pain? Where does this pain come from? A person should first of all ask these questions to his mind. First of all, pain comes because a person starts running after pleasures. The root of pain is pleasure. If one does not wish for pleasures, then he cannot get no pain. But when he feels pleasure, then pain is also born. Let us say that we get no pleasure from non-vegetarian food and that we do not eat non-vegetarian food. We are pure vegetarians. If we do not get any pleasure from non-vegetarian food, then we can also not get any pain from non-vegetarian food. Then it does not make any difference to us whether the food is good, bad, overcooked, undercooked, etc., because we have no expectation of pleasure from it. But if a chapati has not been made correctly or does not tear easily, then we get unhappy because we get pleasure from a chapati that has been made correctly or which does tear easily. Therefore, where does pain come from? It comes from where we have an investment in pleasure. That is where pain comes from. If you have no expectation from pleasure from someone, somewhere, then the pain cannot come from there. If I have an expectation that someone will give me 5 rupees, then I'll get sad if he gives me 2 rupees instead of the 5 rupees. But if I do not have an expectation that he'll give me 5 rupees, then I have not invested in any pleasure for him, and therefore he cannot give me any pain whether or not he gives me anything. Therefore, pains come from this expectation of pleasures. Now, the root of pain is pleasure. If someone wishes to become free from pain, then he needs to think that the mind feels like running after pleasures. At that moment, one should ask the mind that it's running after pleasures, but in reality, is a pleasure there? Ask your mind. Because the mind runs after pleasures, and that which runs is the mind. Next time the mind starts running, then ask the mind whether there are in reality pleasures there. Really? Ask your mind. Secondly, when pain comes, then ask the mind whether at the time of running after something, it felt any pain. The answer will be no. I'll show you a very simple example. When a boy turns 22 or 23, then his mother gets into a rush of getting him married. Then the mother tells everyone that if her son gets married and a daughter-in-law comes to the house, then everything will be at peace. Then she thinks that nobody will be as happy as her. However, in reality, it's that when all the fireworks start being lighted. Obviously, the fireworks do not go off with you because you're all very behaved. I'm only talking about those in whose houses those fireworks really go off. At this time, when the mother's mind is running, then what is there? The mother thinks that as soon as the daughter-in-law comes into the house, then she will be happy and keeps thinking like this. Her son and daughter-in-law get engaged. When the engagement happens, then the mother is on cloud 9. She thinks about what a nice daughter-in-law she's got and thinks that her family are very lucky. She thinks that there can be no other girl like this one and that the girl is very nice according to our house's standards. She praises her daughter-in-law a lot. When I hear these praises from mother-in-laws, that when the sons get engaged to their daughter-in-laws, that I feel and I pray to God that the words last throughout their lifetimes. They get married, 6 months pass, and then 1 year passes, and the language of the mother-in-law changes completely. She has said that she has made a little mistake. She says that if she had waited for a few months, then she would have got an excellent girl as a daughter-in-law, but because this engagement was confirmed, she said no to other offers. Why did these complaints then start? Now she complains that her daughter-in-law does not do something, that her daughter-in-law is doing something she does not like, or her daughter-in-law is saying something that she doesn't like. When this starts and the mother-in-law gets pain, then she should grab the mind, sit down with it, and ask it whether before it felt the pain that it feels now. It did not get that pain. Then who encouraged her in the first place? Her mind encouraged her. The mind ran because it thought that it would get pleasure, and pain therefore came. The mind ran to see the beautiful color of a rose, and the hand caught the thorns of the rose. Ask your mind when these pains come. You may think that I am asking you to ask these questions to your mind Or what about the consequences that you have to suffer? Asking the mind will not end the suffering of the consequences. You admit that you have made a mistake, but now what do? The scriptures say that the third question is that you ran after pleasure, and will you now have what you have now is pain. So ask your mind now about who is actually enjoying or suffering from pleasures and pains. When we say that we have to enjoy or suffer them, then ask your mind who enjoys or suffers from these pleasures and pains. Am I the person who enjoys these pleasures? Am I the person who suffers from these pains? No, I am not the person who enjoys or suffers from these pleasures and pains. Then who is it that asks for pleasures and pains? Who is it that runs after pleasures and gets pain from what is left over? Who is he? And do I have a relation with him who runs after these things? Who am I? A person should ask these questions. A person should perpetually keep asking these questions. First of all, when the mind sees pleasures and runs after them, then ask your mind whether there are in reality pleasures there. When the mind feels pain, then ask the mind whether it saw this pain when it ran after the thing. And when pain comes, then ask the mind who enjoys or suffers from these pleasures and pains. You will understand three things. First of all, life is suffering. This is one of Buddha's noble truths, that there will always be suffering in life. Here in the 23rd verse of the Gita, Shri Krishna says, Tad vidya dukh sanyogam. This material world is a form of pain. Suffering is a characteristic of the material world. The reason for this is that the expectation of pleasures is our nature. And while this expectation of pleasure stays, then one will keep getting pain. Therefore, the first thing we must understand is that there is pain in the material world. Secondly, we must understand we have given an invitation to all of these pains. Pains never come by themselves. Sukhasya dukhasya nagopi data. Nobody can give us pain. Pain cannot come by itself, and we have invited these pleasures and pains ourselves. Every situation, good or bad, is there because you have invited it and because you have created that situation. Three agencies have been created to make a person happy. The first is science. What is the cause of science? It is to make human beings happy. Therefore, science searches for the reasons of pain, because in order to make a person happy, you have to find out what causes sadness for him. Science says that humans are unhappy because of external conditions. Scientists believe that once they change the outside circumstances, then humans will be happy. If one is too hot and gets sad because of this, then science will invent an air conditioner and say, now you can be happy. If one is too cold, then science will invent a heater and say, now you can be happy. Science focuses on making humans happy by changing their external circumstances. This is because the basic purpose of science is that a person is unhappy because of external circumstances. The second agency that works in order to make people happy is politics. That is why politicians always tell us that they want to make us happy. Politicians say that if we give them our votes, then they will make us happy. If we ask politicians that they are trying to make us happy, but what is the cause of our sadness, then politicians will say that our unhappiness is as a result of other people. They say that you are unhappy because of the other, and the other can be anyone. Politicians go to the poor in the slums and say that the rich people are the reason for your unhappiness. These rich people make you work, labor hard, and gather all the money. That is what politicians do. They tell people living in the slums that this land is yours. The rich people are planning building works and over these buildings, and we will maintain your homes. We will create electricity conditions and water conditions for you. Then when the same person goes to rich people, then he tells them that these poor people are the reason for your unhappiness. Give us your votes and we will close all the slums. Politics says that the reason for your unhappiness is the other person. This is a politician. Therefore, science says that the reason for unhappiness is the circumstances, and politics says that the reason for your unhappiness is the other person. The third agency that works in order to make people happy and has been very successful at doing so is religion. Religion says that the reason for your unhappiness is not the circumstances, and the reason for your unhappiness is not someone else. The reason for your unhappiness is you yourself. That is why only religion can make a person happy. How can someone else make you unhappy? Nobody can make you sad until you yourself ask to be sad. Religion says that the reason for your unhappiness is not the circumstances, and the reason for your unhappiness is not someone else. The reason for your unhappiness is yourself. Scientists can never make a person happy because no matter how much the external circumstances change, what if a person stays unhappy himself? And we have seen this in particular in Western countries, and now we are even beginning to act like Western countries. I think we should stop using the phrase Western countries because we have become as Westernized. We are equally as Westernized. We seem to be consuming the same material comforts for happiness as they are consuming in the West. There are no longer watertight compartments of the West and the East. We are consuming the exact same products. After consuming all of these things, we should get happiness. But this happiness has not yet come. That is why science has failed to make people happy. It has made a lot of efforts, but it has failed to give people happiness. A person may be lying in a fully air-conditioned room, and yet he still cannot get any sleep. Science changed his circumstances, but it did not make him happy. Has politics been able to make us happy? No. In fact, it has made us quarrel even more. Politicians tell the first set of people that the second people are making you unhappy, so attack them. And then they tell the second people that the first set of people have made you unhappy, so attack them. Politicians have not made humans happy. This is because as long as the reason for someone's sadness is outside, then he has no control over it, because he has no control over the outside. How can he be able to change other people? The reason for my unhappiness is me, and I cannot change myself. That is it why, if I change, then I will get happiness. This is the very name of yoga. This is the very name of dhyan, meditation. This is the very name of penances. If you wish to gain happiness, and you know that this material world is a form of pain because of your wishes, then as soon as you stop searching for pleasures, then you will stop getting pains. While you hold on your hand out for pleasures, then your hands will get hurt by thorns. But if you do not go searching for pink rose, then you will not get hurt by thorns. But if you do go searching for pink rose, then if you do not go searching for a pink rose, then you will not get hurt by thorns. If you get pleasure from the pink rose, straight away, this is the name, just away, then this is the name of samadhi. You have to get pleasure, and there is no note in getting pleasure, but you should not place ownership on top of that pleasure. You should not create a sense of ownership. That is why Shri Krishna describes this as a disconnection from union with pain. One who frees himself from this reaches the state of yoga. This is because once a person has stopped wishing for connection from union with pain, then he will be disconnected from union with pain. Shri Krishna also says that one should practice this yoga with determination and with heart undismayed. One should not be frustrated with his efforts. Shri Krishna is very aware that this path of yoga is full of frustrations. Frustration will come from three things. The first is the amount of time taken. A person has begun on his path with a wish to fix his mind on the self or the supreme self. It takes a long time if one wishes to reach the state of nirud. Bodhanam janmanam te dhananam mam prapat. It can take many births. For at all this time, one should not get frustrated. People get frustrated within 5 minutes of doing a single mala when they do prayer deeds while chanting the name of God, and then think about when it will finish. It takes a long time, and Shri Krishna says that this frustration is a very big hurdle on the path of yoga. The first reason for frustration is a long time it takes. The second reason for frustration is a lot of failures. A person makes so many efforts and yet he is not successful. A person gets frustrated. A person thinks about whether he's pouring water in such a barrel when there is no bottom. This is what the great souls of Zen say. If you go to the great souls, the Mahatmas of Zen, then they will always test the pupils in the same way. A pupil went to a teacher and said that he wished to attain knowledge of this state of Zen. The great soul told him to come with him and to do exactly what he did without questioning. The pupil said that he was fine with that. The great soul took him to a well where there was a rope, a bucket, and a barrel lying there. The barrel was the shape and size of a normal barrel, however, it had no bottom. There were two sets of equipment. The Zen master began using the bucket to get water from the well, and therefore the people did likewise. Then the Zen master poured water from the bucket into the bottomless barrel. The people asked the Zen master what he was doing. The Zen master said, "What did I tell you? Do what I do and do not ask any questions." He did this 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, and then many more times. The pupil thought to himself about whether this was a great soul or a madman. The student thought that there was the bottom of the barrel, and yet this master keeps pouring water from the well to it. The people told the Zen master, "This barrel will never be filled." The Zen master told the people, "Who told you that I wish to fill the barrel? Why do you assume that I wish to fill the barrel? Just do what I do and do not ask any questions. Just see how much a person fails. This is because we all have set ideas. Zen is worth thinking about. We always think that if I do this, then this should happen, and if I do that, then that should happen. And you need this to do this, and you need that to do that. And consider ourselves as so much of masters that we think that we know everything and how everything should happen. It does not happen that way. Only when a human being becomes free from such thoughts can he go on the path of Dhyan. One must be free from all these pre-notions and preconceptions. Keep filling the barrel. As Shri Krishna says, one should practice his yoga with determination and with heart undismayed. Failures come and you think that you are not getting the fruits and not getting any success. Frustrations come, but this will not work. The third reason for frustration is monotony. You have to do one thing over and over again. You have to look at one idol over and over again. A person gets frustrated. You have to keep chanting one mantra over and over again. This monotony is a reason for frustration. The repetitiveness frustrates a person. Therefore, the reason for frustration are the long time taken, continuous failure without seeing any success, and monotony. Shri Krishna says that one should practice this yoga with determination and with heart undismayed. Thinkers say there is a difference between the material world and spirituality. In the material world, there is a lot of excitement when one is making efforts, and when one attains what he seeks, then frustration begins to happen. This is a characteristic of the material world. If we have not got a car and decide to get one, then there is so much excitement when one makes efforts to get the car. A person thinks, I'll definitely get the car in a year, I'll collect money and I'll do this and that. But when the car comes, then one gets frustrated with it and there is no fun in it. This is a characteristic of the material world. There is excitement in efforts and frustration after one gets the fruits. On the other hand, in spirituality, there is frustration in efforts, but after one attains the ultimate goal, with a capital U for ultimate and capital G for goal, then there is just bliss after bliss. There is the ultimate bliss. Now we have formed habits from living in the material world. Our whole system is set according to the material world, in that we think that there should be enjoyment in making any efforts. The enjoyment does not come there because the characteristics and program of spirituality is completely different. There is frustration in the early stages of spirituality. Therefore, when we take the set mind from the material world into spirituality, then we fall back. Shri Krishna says to practice this yoga with determination and with heart undismayed.